So good afternoon or good morning. Welcome to our webinar session for today in our Windchill series. My name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Sales Operations for 3HTI. And our host today, or I'm your host rather, but our presenter today and guest speaker is Zach Carson from the Virtual Center of Excellence at PTC. And Zach is a pre-sales technical specialist. He is also an applications engineer with PTC, and he does a fantastic job with both Creo and Windchill. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have a webinar on NPM Link today is just because of a major disconnect that can happen between the engineering and the manufacturing departments regarding the transfer of information and having the most current information and the current files. And that's where Windchill, being the premier PLM solution on the market today, really comes in handy and really helps to solve these problems. We've been very successful, extremely successful in helping our customers solve these exact type of issues. So we're going to be about 30 minutes on the webinar today with the overview and the presentation. If you have any questions, drop those into the chat box and we will answer. We'll try to answer them as we go along, but we will definitely answer them at the end. So Zach, it's showtime.
Showtime. All right. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the intro.
You're welcome.
So as Rob said, everyone, Windchill NPM Link is really all about manufacturing. It's about basically bridging the gap from design to manufacturing. And a big part of that, which we'll actually go through in the demo today, is going to be building out information, process plans, and work instructions for specifically manufacturing, because that communication from engineering to manufacturing is oftentimes a big trouble point for a lot of different companies. Now, what we've noticed through having so many conversations and whatnot with, a lot of the people in the industry is around challenges is really, it starts off with the fact that the design process is just slow and tedious. Teams like manufacturing a lot of times become unproductive because they're waiting for designs to be completed and released. I have a manufacturing background myself, so I've seen this firsthand. This is a huge problem. Manufacturing kind of gets put behind the 8 ball because the design process, the change process just takes so long that they're then given these very short time frames wherever they actually have to go through and do their assemblies and whatnot. The problem is they're rushing. They don't do things right. Quality, kind of goes down the drain. You get into problems, downtime. It just goes on and on. A lot of times there was also, like I said before, a disconnect between engineering and manufacturing. So manufacturing really had no insight into the product, and they end up spending a lot of time just figuring out the resources they need, right? Gathering information, learning the assembly. There was times that I saw that manufacturing had no idea a change was even happening. So then they'd already maybe have assembled 20 units, and then they'd have to go back and redo all of them. And then kind of with that, you can imagine the cost of the rework, the downtime. It's stuff that we preach constantly. Now, building on that disconnect, there's inconsistent data management and translation between engineering and manufacturing. So what happens with that is it a lot of times results in out-of-date bill of materials, out-of-date drawings. Again, manufacturing being unaware of changes to designs or assemblies. And you put all these things together and it's a lot of rework. You're losing a lot of money, and there's definitely a delay in time to market. On the engineering side in particular, there's often an inability to reuse manufacturing processes and resources. So sometimes this is because it's difficult and tedious to transfer everything to new projects or products. And sometimes it's just because engineers simply can't find the data in the system. They don't have a system like Windchill that promotes reuse. So they end up with 3, 4, 5 copies of the same part in the system, and then they all have different part numbers. None of them are associated, and it's really hard to track down what the right one is. Because of the poor data sharing, what happens is that everything essentially becomes a one-off design, and it slows your design time and your time to market, as manufacturing, like I said before, is more or less starting behind the 8 ball by the time the designs actually reach them. Ultimately, this miscommunication, this disconnect between teams means big increases in manufacturing costs, slower time to market, and dissatisfied customers. So PTC's solution to these challenges is Windchill MPM Link. And what this really allows you to do is create and manage all of your manufacturing specific data and processes in parallel to the design data. So in doing so, you're giving manufacturing their bill of materials, their drawing, even things like work instructions, like you can see on this slide, that they're able to work with while engineers are still completing and improving and updating their own designs. So what are you actually getting with this? So with MPM Link, we'll go through some of the capabilities. So first off, you have your different bill of materials updated in real time. So you can actually create separate BOMs for different teams, like manufacturing, like service, so they can be working with that while the design team is still working on changes on their design BOM. And then as those changes are finished, then they get pushed downstream to the manufacturing BOM. This way, manufacturing never has to be waiting around for changes. They always have the most up-to-date information, and the information that they're consuming is actually for them. They're not looking at a design bill of material that doesn't have everything they need and then has a lot of stuff that they don't need, right? We tailor it to the people who are consuming it. Next, you're able to define and manage every detail for your process plans, from the particular plant something is assembled at, down to the workstation, down to the tools and the steps that you actually need to follow to create that job or to complete that job. Lastly, you can create visual work instructions like you can see here on the right. We'll actually go through this process today, and you can include as much detail as you want in here. The idea really is just to give manufacturing every piece of information they need for this operation. And that way, it's going to speed up their assemblies. It's going to reduce the amount of rework. It's going to improve quality. You know, if it's a process, an assembly that they've never done before, they have every ounce of information they need to get it right the first time, even if it's something they've never seen. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into the demonstration. All right, so we're going to start here by just opening up the front wheel assembly that I have for a particular, basically it's a big car, our Synergy Pro car. And this is a product that we've made some changes to before, and basically we need to update this for manufacturing. So if you look in the top, beside the WT part name, you can see in parentheses it says manufacturing, and this is indicating that we are looking at a manufacturing bill of materials. Traditionally, this will say design because that's typically where people start with their BOM. But in this case, we've created a manufacturing BOM, still fully related to the initial design BOM, but it's basically a downstream branch of this. All right, so we're going to start here. We're going to go to my related objects, and we're going to take a look at a process plan. So with this process plan, essentially what this is our work instructions, right? So in this particular front wheel assembly process, we're going to build out work instructions. That is what the actual assembler will be able to reference in order to go through each of the steps. Like I said, we're going to go through building this today, so you'll see what this process looks like. But before we actually build it, I just want to show you what an actual set of completed process plans looks like. So it's all visible here within the structure. Just like you would have a part structure, you have the structure for your process plan. And you can see within each one of these steps, we have all of the materials that are related to that step. So all of the WT parts, all of the tools, the users who are going to be completing that step, maybe even multiple users if someone's assembling it and then someone's inspecting it, every bit and piece of information that they need. From this process plan, they can automatically generate work instructions. So it's literally just right-clicking on the top level structure, and I say generate work instructions, and now you'll be able to see what the assembler would be seeing if they were to follow these work instructions to actually go through and build this part. So everything here, we laid out in Windchill. As an engineer, we laid this out. So the manufacturer who looks at this, they can see a visualization on the left. So they can see all of the different components, see each step. You can include as much or as little detail in the descriptions as you want. You can see all of the different parts that are going to be used in this assembly, the different tools, the users, and so forth. in my manufacturing experience, what we've done in the past that's similar to this, but not nearly as good, is we've tried to build work instructions more manually than this. Some of this is automated, and it's all just been pictures. We've taken pictures of previous assemblies. Sometimes they're hard to see. They're not always clear. They don't show you every little component like we do here. In this, we can show where every screw goes. We can show the location of every nut, how each bolt and washer are assembled, every little piece, and it's clear through that visualization. Even if we want to add comments and annotations, we can put those in there as well and make sure that there's really no question that gets left unanswered. So what we're going to do here, we are going to start from scratch, and we're going to build a process plan for a particular part that we have. So I'm going to start, we're just going to search for this part. And it's going to be the crank assembly. Right, so when I open this up, by default here, you can see we're looking at that design bill of materials. What I'm going to do first, since this is all for manufacturing, I'm going to open up the manufacturing associative part structure browser. So this is something that comes with MPM Link. This is what we use to take our design BOM and create a downstream manufacturing BOM from that. So they're fully associative. What that means is then if you're making changes to the design BOM, you can automatically push those to the MBOM as well. But you can also, kind of tailor the MBOM on top of that. You can include things like the designers don't care about, things like anti-seize or lubricant or Loctite, thread tape, stuff like that, that really manufacturing needs to be aware of, but engineering wants nothing to do with. And a lot of this, in creating this bill of materials, this is really just copy and paste. I'm picking which of these components I want to put on the MBOM. I'm deciding after I copy and paste, if once I have everything there, I'm figuring out what else do I need to add to this to give to manufacturing. When I go to add anything new, it's really, really simple. It's right-clicking on the top level, and I'm saying I want to insert a new part. And then from that point, it's just like any other part. I can give it any names, any associated documentation or models if I'm attaching a CAD part or something like that. A lot of times that stuff's going to be already managed in Windchill, but the idea is we're tailoring the part structure here for manufacturing. So in this case, I put a consumables kit in there, and then within that consumables kit, I might have some subcomponents as well, some additional parts that are within that kit. So we'll go through and add some of these here. Say assembly lubricant for the first one. Looks pretty good. And then once we're done with that, what we're ready to do after we've made the changes is then just go ahead and check this into Windchill. So this way, it's updated. It's a new part, a new downstream branch, a new BOM for manufacturing that's being managed in the system. From the bottom of your screen, whenever you're looking in this manufacturing associative part structure browser, then there's a few different tabs that you can actually look at. So attributes is going to be your general information. You can see it on the left. You can have the visualization there as well. The nice part about that is maybe you're using this to do a little bit of a comparison. You can see what the differences are between the design BOM and the MBOM. For the part itself, it's probably going to be the same. But what we're going to look at here is the process plan. And in this case, you can see on the right, there is no process plan currently there. So at this point, we're going to actually start to build one from scratch. All right, now this process plan is just going to be another type of object in Windchill. So, you have documents in Windchill, you have WT parts in Windchill, you have models in Windchill, just another type of object that we're going to manage. The nice part about that is these can be iterated, right? I can make changes to these process plans as my part changes, as my process changes, and I'll have the traceability into each and every change and each previous version or iteration of this. Okay, now in order to actually start building this out, it's going to basically end up looking the same as what we looked at in the beginning. So we're going to start in the structure. At this point, it's just that top level. It's just the process plan. We haven't given it any steps or any additional information. That's what we're going to do here. What it really starts with is inserting the operations. So putting into this process the different steps that need to be executed in order to complete it. We're going to go with 5. We're not going to make it too long, but we'll give a little bit of detail to this. So once I have those steps laid out, just very vaguely, and I've just said I want these 5 steps, now I can start to add some detail. So rather than just having a generic name, maybe I want to name each step according to what's actually going to happen, right? So the first one is just mount crankshaft, and we'll go through and define or give a description, a brief description in the name for each step. And that looks pretty good. And now you can see here, as I'm doing that, as I'm making the changes, it's automatically updating there in the part structure. So pretty nice. It's just immediate an immediate reflection of the modifications I'm making. What I can do now is I can tell Windchill, and Windchill is a smart system, so it knows this. I can say that since I've gone ahead and basically created a template for this crank assembly, Windchill knows what this crank assembly process is actually related to. So what I can do is in the toolbar at the top, tell it to open the related part. And it is going to open up the WT part for the crank assembly that I have. And now I'm going to use this to start giving resources to each one of these steps. A lot of this, it's so easy to do. A lot of it's just drag and drop, right? So I'm going to grab a WT part from the left, and I'm going to put it into my process plan on the middle. What you'll notice is as I'm doing this, I'm always aware of what I've done and what I still need to do. And the way that we're able to check that is on the left, if you look at the bottom, there's a visualization. That visualization is updating real time as I drag things from the WT part and put them into my process plan. So already, the visualization for that connecting rod has disappeared from the visualization on the left and appeared in our visualization for the work instructions. And it's going to keep doing that. So it's really making it very clear to us if there's something we missed or, and just to make sure that we have everything moved over. And that looks pretty good. And even here, for the part that we added specifically for that manufacturing BOM, if you remember, what we added was that consumables kit, and then specifically within that consumables kit, we added the assembly lubricant. That's even something that I can drag over as well. Right. So that's good. We have the parts associated with each step, but we need to add a lot more. That's still not all of the information. For the end user, for the manufacturer, that gives them some information, but it's not nearly enough. So what we're going to do is take this a step further, and we're going to say, all right, in Windchill, I want to manage everything, right? I have all of my parts, my documents. I even have my suppliers and my plant information. I manage tools in here. So I'm going to take that and put that into these steps too. Okay, I'm going to say this is all done in my Windchill system. It's just called Plant 1. You're probably going to have it more specific, but I'm going to get detailed. I'm going to put a workstation on each one of these steps. So that way, if it's someone that's never done this before, if your manufacturing floor has multiple workstations, workbenches, then people know exactly where they have to go just to do this process. And in that workstation, you're going to have probably all the necessary tools there. So it's giving people everything. They don't have to spend as much time just running around gathering materials before they get started. And then once they get started, they really don't know what's next. They really don't know what they're doing. They're just following, paper instructions that are frankly difficult to follow. For the last step, I've given parts to each one. I've said where the steps are going to be completed, who's going to be doing them. And now I'll just say the tools that they're going to be using. Looks pretty good. Now on the right-hand side, Rather than looking at that visualization, we're going to move into this uses subtab. And the uses subtab is where we're going to add descriptions in for what's specifically going to be done in each of these steps, right? So this isn't our long description yet. This is just a general description, but we can also include other information in here. So setup time, labor time, processing time is going to be big. This will give end users an understanding or an idea of how long you expect this step to take. It lets them know if they're on track or not. Maybe something happened, something came up, and it's taking them a really long time. So they can visibly see here as they're going through this that they're not on schedule. The benefit of that is then if something goes wrong, or maybe they've even completed this multiple times and they're always behind schedule on step 3, then that's something that they know, they're not aligning with engineering in planning or whoever sets this up. So then that's information they can relay, and you can figure out what the problem is and say, all right, if step 3 is taking 4 times as long as what we expect, and it's that way for everybody, then this is something we need to look at from a planning standpoint. It's not necessarily just an assembler's fault. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and check this in, basically just so I don't risk losing this work at all. And for the next piece of this, we're going to really take this up a notch, and we're going to add a playback. So really what the playback is this is where we're going to actually assign the visualization to each step of this procedure. And this is an amazing feature of NPM Link in regard to giving end users clarification and a visual representation of what each step looks like. So we're going to use Creo View to do this. I'm just going to say for each one of these steps, I want to create a new representation for each one of them. And last one here. And once we've attached and basically just said, I need a representation for each one of these, then we'll get into Creo View and actually, get the perspective, basically take a snapshot, include any comments that we need, and attach that to each one of these steps so that the end user, whenever they're going through this, they have that visual component as well as, the descriptions. For the sake of the demo and time, we're not going to go through anything crazy for this, but we're just going to open up Creo View and we'll create a few of these representations. Right, so this is the part that I'm working with. It's that crankshaft. And the thing to note is that when you're creating this, make sure that it's a good view. Make sure that it's very clear what you want to be seen. Make sure that you're zoomed in enough, because what we're doing here, this is going to be specifically what's put in those work instructions. So don't zoom out too far, because if you do that, then it's going to be hard to see. The model's going to be really small. Make it a good visualization. That's what's really going to go a long way for the assemblers or manufacturers or whoever it is that's going to be looking at this. So in this case, I'm going to just throw on a comment here. We'll give it a little bit of formatting. I can change the color and stuff if I want to. And then I'll just save this annotation set. What that's basically doing is just saving this Creo View annotation to Windchill so that anyone would be able to view it. In this particular situation, that's what I'm going to be using for this step in the work instructions. That's why I called it Mount Flywheel, just so I know exactly, which step I need to attach that to. And we'll just go through one more here. So pretty simple. Pick the orientation I want. Doesn't have to be an out-of-the-box orientation either. You can zoom in, zoom out, rotate, whatever with your cursor. And then I'll just add in the description for this step as well. So what you can see is it's a pretty simple process. I mean, everything we've done up to this point, from building out the process plan, typing in the actual instructions, allocating resources, creating visualizations. I mean, nothing's really complicated. It's not even that time consuming. Of course, it'll be a little bit more than what we're doing today if you have a longer procedure, but a lot of it is really just drag and drop or copy and paste. It's not very much work, and it's a huge reward and benefit for whoever's going to be consuming this. So those look pretty good. The last step here is just to say within each one of these steps, specifically what's happening. You know, we have our title for each step, but I want to add in a description. And this can be pretty detailed. You can see some of the formatting options here. I can bring in different, formats, different texts, numbered lists, bullet points, all kinds of information, and really just give so much detail. Give a lot of detail for the manufacturers who are going to be following this. So now that we've done that, we've really built out every step of this process plan. And at this point, with all the materials allocated, the visualizations made, the descriptions there, we can go ahead and just tell Windchill, generate some work instructions for me. Okay, and it's going to look, a little bit more simple, but very similar to what we had in the beginning. So this is what it looks like. I have my work instructions. I skipped the visualizations for a few of these steps. But I have the parts, the resources, the users, the visualization. So this is actually a pretty good example of whenever you're creating visualizations, make sure it's a good view, because that one I was zoomed out too far, and this really isn't a huge benefit to who's going to be consuming it because it's hard to see. So make sure you're zoomed in, you give a good view. This one's a little bit better. But the idea really is, like I said, give the end users, give the assemblers, the techs, the manufacturers, whoever it is, give them every ounce of information they need so that as they're going through this, there is no miscommunication. There is no confusion on what they need to do next. So that even if it's their first time going through a process, they know exactly what needs to be done in order to complete it right and do it efficiently. So now that we've gone through that demonstration in Windchill, I just have a few more points that I want to share that summarize what NPM Link can do for you. So with this, you're getting a single globally accessible PLM system to design, plan production, and synchronize with other tools you're using to have all of your design and manufacturing information in one single location. You get concurrent design and manufacturing bill of materials and processes, and that's going to help you avoid downtime or wait time on engineering, and make sure the manufacturing is always working with the most up-to-date information. Lastly, it provides well-planned and repeatable processes where designers can reuse previous designs and add information to create thorough work instructions that get manufacturing to work faster, where they can complete assemblies more efficiently with less mistakes, and that's going to save your company money with downtime, and it's going to improve your time to market. So that's all that I had planned to go through for this general overview of Windchill NPM Link.
Excellent, Zach. Great presentation. Very informative. So hopefully everyone sees how this can help solve those communication issues with engineering. If you have any questions, need any further detail on this, we can set up a more custom demo for what you're looking to do. You can email me at info@3hti.com, or you can just reply to the emails invitations that were sent to you regarding this webinar. So next week, our webinar is going to focus on Windchill's change management with Windchill. We just did NPM Link. For some reason, I was going to say it again. We're going to do change management, look at change management capabilities within Windchill next week, next Wednesday at noon. So look out for that invitation. So thanks again, Zach. I appreciate your time and your very informative and helpful and presentation. So once again, if you need anything, get in touch with us.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week, Zach, and hopefully we'll see everyone else too. Take care, everyone.
Yep, definitely.